Special edition of Lightroom with Mr. Wade. Today we are going to get down to editing photography, what we all wanted to do when we first started Lightroom. Alright, so we're going to begin by going up here to pick the Develop module. This is where all the photo editing magic is going to happen. I've selected these photos, I think they're from chapter 5 or chapter 6. And something that we're going to do right now is we're going to configure the workspace. And what I'm going to do is I'm closing out this panel because this panel is just not necessary to photo editing. And I'm also going to be dropping down the film strip. What I will do instead is to stretch out these panels because this will provide more nuanced editing for the photos. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to this photo, and I'm just going to kind of go through the panels first. What we're looking at from top to bottom is the histogram, which is a diagram breaking down the tonal values of the photo. Then we have this next pretty important toolbar with the crop tool, the spot removal, the red eye eliminator thing. Then we have the basic editing panel, and this is where we'll be doing most of our magic. Something that I recommend that you do in the very beginning is switch your profile to some Adobe profile for your photo. For instance, I recommend landscape for this one, and this is just configuring the program with the AI to make the best changes to your photo. So already it's been improved somewhat. Then after that, I'm going to be showing you just some basic editing. The first item of business is white balance. What you should do is you should click on a gray area in the photo, and we don't really have much gray here. I'm zooming in to this region here, and I'll click on this like that, and suddenly the white balance has been corrected. So there we go. It looks like that. Another thing that is very useful and something that you should definitely try out first more than anything is this auto basic editing button. And what this will do is it will drastically improve the look of your photo. Yeah, this is key to understanding these various different basic editing sliding bars because it's already kind of placing things where they need to be. Two bars that I want you to be familiar with are the blacks and the whites. This is determining the absolute black and absolute white where no other visual data is recorded. If you press J, you can see, for instance, the absolute blacks here. And if we drag it too far to the right, like the blacks have kind of faded out completely. If we drag it all to the left, suddenly the shadows have eaten the mountain. So what you're looking for, and I'm clicking J again, is it really depends on your photo. But in this case, what I'd like is no absolute black shadows, so I'm kind of pulling it out completely. The same can be done with a white. There are not many whites here, but if we click J again, by dropping down the white, we're going to bring out the color of the sky. These are some other tools that you can consider. We don't have much haze here. Haze is a pretty powerful tool. We don't need to use it, so I'm not going to try it out. Texture can be seen in any sort of layers that might have texture. For instance, the brick here, I'm pulling out a little bit to be more textured. Yeah, so that would be an example of that. I'm going to zoom out again. You know, I would like you more than anything just to try the extremes of this. For instance, I've cranked up clarity quite a bit to the point that it seems pretty unnatural and surreal. So just go back and forth, see what each one of these does. Saturation is the amount of color, and vibrance is more specific to hues. Alright, so this is the basic editing panel. Alright. Next up, we're going to look at effects, and we're going to learn how to add a vignette. And a vignette can be found here in the amount of vignette around it. And basically, this is kind of like an Instagram-like filter that we're adding where or adding some shadows or light to the border to improve the focus. This can be done subtle, or it can be done to more dramatic effect, depending on what you're doing. I do recommend you try to play around with all of these sliding bars as well. Whether it be black or white, feathering is going to refer to whether it's a hard edge or a soft edge. For instance, that's without any feathering at all. This one is very faded. The roundness is kind of fun to see to create more of an old-timey vintage look. All right, so this is vignetting, and this is just a quick, easy way to enhance the focus of your photo, and you can do it in a more stylish way if you desire. All right, the last things that I want to show you are cropping, and this photo I'll be using as my example for cropping. And by the way, okay, so I'm up here at cropping, and so cropping can be used to improve the composition or to change your photo to fix some specific aspect ratio. And you can go over here to decide which aspect ratio you want. After you've decided on something, you can always press enter or done or close, and it will lock according to the aspect ratio. You can also click and drag your photo however you'd like to better fit the aspect ratio. In addition, you can also use the crop tool to stabilize the photo. For instance, here the horizon line is kind of slanted. So one thing you can do is you can drag and eyeball it until it's more perfectly angled using the grid lines. But a better way of doing it is through the angle tool that you can find here. And by the way, I'm just going to go as shot. Okay, so I'm clicking on the angle tool, and what you're going to do is you're going to click on the horizon line and drag it to the end of the horizon and let it go. And suddenly, boom, the horizon is fixed. I pressed enter, and it's all good. All right, so this is an overview of the basic panel, the effects panel, and the crop tool. Please stay tuned for your more specific instructions found on Google Classroom. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.